Hello, welcome to Renaissance Minis. Today we're going to be doing a castle room box. I've been making some castle furniture, but I didn't want to make it a full castle. I just want to do a room of the castle. So that's what we're going to be doing with some foam core board. And we're going to be putting some texturization into the foam core board itself to mimic stones of the inside of a castle. I'll pop up a picture right here. So as you can see, normally castles are built where each stone is placed on top of another one, and that was the basic masonry back then. And so we're going to kind of mimic that, but we're going to be just doing like a standard brick pattern, but then we're going to use paints in order to try to bring it out and make it look a little bit more 3D. And I want to make it to fit this cube unit that I have here. I have these cube units, and these are from Walmart, I believe. And the opening of this cube unit is about 11 inches by 11 inches. And so I want to be able to fit this room box inside one of these cubes. So that's what we're going to do. So it's going to be a 1/24 scale castle room box. So let's get started. So I'm going to be upcycling some already well-loved and used foam board. And so this is the piece I chose. Now this foam board originally was pretty thick foam board, and I believe I got this at Target, either Target or Walmart. Their foam board core board is a little bit more meatier than the Dollar Tree. Here's the difference here. So you can see this Dollar Tree piece on top. This one is Dollar Tree and this one is Target. It's either Target or Walmart. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to say Target just to be safe. It's a little bit thicker, and it's more sturdy. I do like it better, although this does come in handy for certain projects. In order to fit into the cube, I'm going to go with a 10.5 inch wide. That gives me that extra 1/2 inch, even though that cube opening measures 11. You need a little bit of room to put your pieces on either side here, because I'm going to attach the wall to this side. So you're going to need to give yourself an extra little bit on each side so that it'll slide nicely into the cube. If you are a hobbyist who likes to work with 1/12 scale, you can do everything I do on my channel and just scale it up. So it's going to be 10.5 on the width, and then I think I'm going to go 10.5 on the depth as well. But you can certainly do it how you would like to do it. So if you want to make the same size box, and you can still put 1/12 scale furniture inside the box, of course. So the box could be the same size if you prefer. But if you have a cube piece of furniture at home, I have two types. I have this one, which I got from Walmart. And then there is the IKEA cube, which measures 13 by 13. And that would probably be a better cube to put a 1/12 scale room box in, because I want to capture this space that's in a castle. Most castles, the bedrooms are very large, the windows are large, and you want to kind of create that feel. So you might want to just scale it up a little bit if you're going with the 1/12 scale, which is the most popular scale. 1/24 scale, or 1/2, or it's also called half scale, was very popular in the 50s. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut our base here. I will put all the measurements down in the description box below. So we're 10 and a half, 10 and a half, which is a perfect square. I am going to be using the Dollar Tree foam board for this, for the side walls and the ceiling probably, and that's because this comes off really super easy, and we're going to texturize this foam core board, and we're going to paint it. And if you leave the paper on, it doesn't really work well with paint. It'll start to curl, so we don't want that to happen, and we want to be able to get a real stone-like texture on this foam core part. So we're going to go ahead and cut this one. I'm doing the same measurements, 10 and a half by 10 and a half, so it's going to be a perfect cube. I'm going into a second sheet, so if you are writing your shopping list for this, I would definitely get 3 sheets of foam board. Okay, so you'll need, your base piece is going to be the 10 and a half inches by 10 and a half inches. Then you'll have 2 side pieces, which are identical as well, 10 and a half and 10 and a half. And then your back piece is going to have to be slightly larger as you put the box together. So it's going to be 10 and a half by 10 and 15/16 of an inch. So you're looking at 1 inch. Most of your pieces are going to be 10 and a half. This is going to be 15/16 of an inch, which is just the mark before it's a full inch, if that makes any sense. Right there, 15/16 of an inch. I suck at measuring, so, but there's always, you can always Google. So we have our base piece here, and then we have our 2 sides, which we're going to hot glue this piece onto the side of this piece rather than gluing it onto the top like this, because this is going to be, it's going to hold, it's going to give you a stronger bond rather than placing it on here. This too wobbly. This will give you a stronger bond putting it on the side. That's why I do my measurements that way, but you can certainly do them however you like. So we've got our 2 side pieces here, and then our back piece is not only going to have to do this full 10 and a half, but you're going to have a little, see that part there, so that this one meets this one. So you're going to have it slightly larger. And then we're going to wait to measure the one that goes on top, which we're going to attach the interior light to later. And I'll give you those measurements later. And everything, all the measurements I'm showing you here, I will definitely put down in the description box below so you can refer to them if you'd like. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to texturize this board. This one I'm not going to remove the paper off of, although, well, let's see. No, it's going to be too hard. So we're going to go ahead and texturize this. I'm going to pick the smoothest side first. And this is going to be the floor, and I was hoping to get, do a cohesive type of stonework in the interior castle. And as I'm going for 1/24th scale, the stones are going to have to be in scale. Let me give you an example. These bricks are 1/6 scale. So you get an idea here. So they're about half inch tall by about 2 inches wide. So that's a 1/6 scale brick. A brick that would be for a 1/12 scale. Drew them out here. So you have this brick is 1/6, then you have a 1/12 scale brick, and then you have a 1/24 scale brick. So the 1/24 scale brick size is what I'm trying to hit on here, and that's going to be really teeny. See here in inches what that looks like. If a 1/6 scale is half an inch, you've got the 1/12 is 1/8 of an inch approximately, and this one's just smaller than 1/8 of an inch, the 1/24th. I'm going to be scoring it with this, it looks kind of like an ice pick. We're just going to score it. So we're going for that smaller brick size there. You don't want to go too deep. And I'm just going to eye this each time. You're kind of ripping through the paper a little bit, but you're not going deep into the foam board just yet. This is just going to give us a little bit of brick texture, which is going to be modified later after we paint it. Now this particular foam board from Target, we're going to have to see how this behaves with paint on it, as the Dollar Tree foam board you cannot paint because the paper will curl. So, but this one we're going to attempt to paint it, and I'll let you know how it goes. So let's get the rest of these lines done. Make the stones. So I'm going to go with a pretty small stone here, brick if you will. So I'm going to make a line here on my first one. Again, you're just scoring this part. So you're going to come down this grid, and you're going to do every other one. Okay, so it should look something like this. where you've done one, you skipped one, done one, skipped one, done one, skipped one, and you follow it all the way down. And then you come back and you start over here, but this time you're not going to start on this one, you're going to start on the one you didn't mark. And so you just go back and you're going to do all the ones that you didn't mark. Okay, now that we have all of the bricks texturized on all the walls, including the floor, now we're going to figure out where the windows are going to go. So I'm going to have two large windows on the right hand side of this castle room. And here are the measurements for the windows. I'm going 3 inches wide and 7 inches tall, and what I did was I just took my ruler and I used it to make a window. I thought it'd be a good size for the window, and as in most castles, everything is oversized, so this is relatively speaking around 1/24 scale. But I wanted to really get the largeness of the room to give it that castle feel. So I scaled up just a little bit on this. And we're coming in at 1 1/4 from the base here. So if you have a 2-inch figure, which is 2.5 to 3-inch figure, that's about 1/24 scale. So these are the two very large windows. And I'll put these measurements down in the description box below. 3 inches wide and 7 inches tall. And again, I'm just using traced around this ruler. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. I've selected 3 paints that I'm going to be using: the Barrel Antique Parchment, Warm Buff, and Craft Smart These you can get at Walmart, and this one you can get at Michael's Craft, and this is the burnt umber, and all of them are matte. I'm going to be using a bigger brush. I like to use cosmetic brushes because I have a bunch of extra ones. This is the e.l.f. highlighter brush. The bristles are super soft. It doesn't shed, and it's perfect for a project like this because it'll cover a lot of area. And I'm going to be using one of these dishes, that aluminum pans that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to have a little bit of white on hand in case I need to lighten the color a little bit. And this is the Apple Barrel Matte White. First, coming in with the parchment, and I'm just pouring it in there because we're going to need quite a bit. And I'm going to darken it a little bit with the warm buff. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of the burnt umber. And we'll see how it comes out. Trying not to put a whole ton on here. See how fast this spreads out. I think this is a good base color. Glad I went with the bigger brush. It's going to help cover it super quick. It's going to make this a really super quick paint job. And what I'm doing is I'm going over it vigorously to make sure that it goes in all of the cracks so that we get that texture. If we cover the cracks too much, then we will lose our texture. So you want to vigorously brush the paint into the cracks, but also out of the cracks without adding any more. So I like that. This is looking really good right now. All right, that's a great start. As you can see, you can still see the brickwork there. So that's what we want. We don't want to cover that up. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the antique parchment by itself. So I'm just going to drop some here in the corner of the pan. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of just like go into it a little bit, take some off, and then kind of just hit it a little bit with this. You don't want to do too much. We're just kind of gonna dry brush it across here. And if you get too much, you can always take a rag and get some off. Just gonna give it a little bit of variation. Gonna go this direction too, just blending it in there so it's not so splotchy. And then I'm going to hit it with a little bit of white. I'm going to come in with another brush with a little bit of the white here. And we're going to make sure we don't have a lot on there, because we just want to just graze it a little bit. Just in some places, just for a light refraction so that it looks like there's more shading in there. And then we're going to let this dry because we're going to come back with a wash on this to age the stones a little bit in the corners. So we're going to let this dry. Now while it's drying, I'm going to come and I'm going to re-deepen some of these lines because we lost them a little bit with the paint. Just going to enhance them a little bit. I saw this on another channel, so I just wadded up some aluminum foil. And while it's still wet and it's soft, I'm just going to add a little bit of texture. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just giving it some texture, making it look more like stone. Pressing it, kind of rockering it back and forth. We don't want this to look perfect. It has to look like real stone. The great part about this is it doesn't have to look perfect. You do want it to look flawed. You might even want to make it look like one of these stones are like lifting up and out of the wall. Pushing that one in a little bit more so it looks like there's some depth there to it. Just going to keep distressing this until I feel satisfied that I like to have a little bottle of water. I got these bottles, they come in a 2-pack from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the burnt umber as the wash. Muddy it up a little bit, add a little bit more water. Don't think I'm going to do the whole thing. I think I'm just going to do this with my fingers and just kind of add it in randomly. So here are the walls after they've been pressed under some heavy books. And unfortunately, even though they've been under books for 24 hours, the foam board is still bending. So we are going to go ahead and reinforce them with extra foam board. So the floor is okay. It's not bowed too badly, so I think I'm going to leave that one. Well, let's see. Yeah, it still has a little bit of a dip in it, and we need it to be like this to be straight. So we're going to go ahead and reinforce all of these walls. Let's get started. Unfortunately, this changes the dimensions of the box, which is probably what you were thinking a few minutes ago, as I was, because we've doubled the walls. Now the walls are thicker, so this back wall now is not quite wide enough. So I wanted to tell you that I decided to cut the floor smaller in order to accommodate this wall. I added I added an extra piece onto this side to extend it so that this would fit here, and then I could put the support behind it and it would sit flush. But after doing so, I realized that it would not fit in the 11 by 11 cube furniture that I had. So instead of adding that piece, I ended up cutting the floor back to the measurement of 10 1/8 inches. So I started out showing you that the floor was 10 1/2 inches, and I cut it back to 10 1/8. And that allowed me to go ahead and double up this wall as well without compromising the squareness of the box. Now we're going to trim out the windows with like a stone edge before we attach the window piece. We're going to be using 1/2 inch strips of foam board to trim out the windows. So now I'm going to I'm going to attach this window wall without the support on the back for now, in case I decide to put a scenery outside the window. I want the viewing window to start at the base of the diorama, so I'm going to make a mark where the base is here. That's where I'm going to want the viewing window to start. All right, so we have the basic room box done. I have to reinforce this side. Of course, it's still flimsy, but before I did that, I want to go ahead and add some scenery to it. So we're going to put this to the side for a minute. This is the side that has the glass in it. 8 by 10 piece of glass. I got this calendar off of Amazon, so we're gonna look through here and see what we find. I don't know about you, but I've always wanted to go to Scotland, so we're gonna see what we have here for sceneries. I was thinking of something possibly green like this. This would be something you would see out of a castle window. Right, here's the completed room box. And you can attach the front of it with Velcro or magnets, or just go ahead and glue it. And then you can always enter in from the top. I'm going to go ahead and glue it. And we're going to add a puck light to our room box top. So we have our lid here. It should be about a ½ inch wider than it is. I'll put the measurements down in the description box below. But what we're going to do is we're going to attach a puck light to the top to light up the diorama. Well, here's the completed room box. Thank you so much for watching as always. Stay tuned for filling it with furniture and decorating the walls for a castle diorama. If you would like to see more of my videos, please click subscribe. If you like the content of this video, please click like, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.